All right, welcome everyone. This is the Viper Professional Training and Sport webinar. Today's date is January 13, 2020, and this is a Monday night webinar. And the title of tonight's webinar is Boxes or Lines with a question mark. And as everyone knows that's been to our webinars or our live trading room, everything that we say and do at Viper Trading Systems is for educational purposes only. Futures trading, Forex trading, any kind of financial instruments trading involves risk. Therefore, there's always risk of loss. You should only trade discretionary capital, and that is money that you can afford to lose. Nothing said in this webinar, other webinars we have, our live trading room or anything else with Viper Trading Systems, should never be construed as trading or investment advice. And as always, everyone does trade at their own sole discretion. Any questions on the disclaimer? All right, we're going to get started here. Just a real quick question for everybody. You know, we've got quite a few new people. Trials this week and things like that. When you look at a chart to determine, you know, which way you're going to go on the chart, do you always look at it like, you know, hey, this could go either way? How many of you, you know, get faked out simply because you go into like little bitty, you know, retraces, to give an example, that are really nothing but a retrace back in the direction of the trend? Some of you? Okay. Well, let me tell you what I do each and every time I look at a chart. Okay. And this is literally like clockwork. Every single time I pull up a chart, I look at this particular chart, even if I don't look at it as the webinar chart. You know, that's on our website, by the way. And you're welcome to have it, you know, in your document folder, you know, as a template for NinjaTrader, because this is, you know, one that I just kind of dummied up so that everybody could use this particular chart. This is a real chart and it has real prices on it. They just don't show, because what I did is I just simply put the data series as transparent. Okay, so we don't see the pricing, but it also does something that I like really well, and that is it takes away that basically that noise. You know, have you ever looked, to give an example, you know, at a picture of a forest and you're trying to look for a particular tree? You can't really see it, can you? And so this kind of cuts out all those trees and lets you see the overall what's actually going on in this chart. And I like this myself. You know, for instance, if I was to walk into my trading room and this, I just purposely put this at like midnight. I didn't trade it. I'm not up at that time of night, but I just paused it at midnight. All right. And let's just pretend that you got up at midnight. Okay. Now, what I see here is when I look to the left of the screen, and this is super important, left side of the screen is heading down. Right side of the screen is not heading up. You see what I mean? Because you haven't gotten a low, a high, a higher low, and a higher high. So this is not an established swing here, even on the right side of the chart yet, unless it takes out, you know, this top right through here, and then it would be an established. And then more than likely, you could be looking very possibly, you know, for a little uptrend if it does. Okay. But that's not what it's doing right now. Okay. But I look at every single chart each and every day the same way. I'm going to look at this chart that if this breaks this resistance right here and comes back and kisses it, then I'm going to be looking for a long. If the thing is, and this is a big if too, you want to be careful that it doesn't just barely break that and then go back in your face, because that is, you know, basically trying to get into a leg three. You know, here's your leg one, leg two, and this would be leg three if it went through the box here. Okay. But if it didn't, then I would be looking, you know, for instance, at this chart right now, I'm seeing support right down here. So if this does high, low, lower high, and lower low, then I would be looking for a short trade. Everybody see that? Now this is basically just a little bit more of a major view of it, because you might be able to get something a little quicker depending on, you know, the actual look of the chart with the bands and everything else. But what I'm saying is mainly when you're looking at a chart, that's what you're looking at right there. Okay. I'm thinking if this does a high, a low, and a higher high, that more than likely I'm going to continue going to the upside. Okay. If they don't and they roll over and they take this out, then I'm not looking for, a trade to the upside. I would be looking more for a trade to the downside. Okay. Now, when you look at your charts like this each and every day without getting all the indicators and everything else that are out there, that's really the simplicity of it right there, is lightning. If you look at lightning, you will be able to take trades. Now, this is lightning 3, and lightning 3 is plenty fast for you to, box in and things like that. But does everybody see this, that you're literally looking at this on the left side of the chart? For this to actually head up, you would literally have to take this swing out even. But if they were to break here, could they actually go to that swing? And the answer is yes. Okay. But if they break this, could they go down to this swing or even possibly lower? See, there's other swings down here. See, to the left side of the chart. So you're looking at both directions. And again, I can't stress that enough, that this is exactly what I do when I look at my charts. Okay, now let's look at the actual chart and let's see what's going on. Well, let's go with our lightning. This is lightning 3. Everybody knows that, right? Now here's lightning 2. I'm going to go ahead and draw it. And that's what you're at right now. Okay, so see, you now have a low, a high, a higher low, but not a higher high, and then they took out the low. So that's now a high, low, lower high, and lower low. Everybody see that? Even on this side, high, low, lower high, lower low. So on the lightning 3 and on the lightning 2, they're agreeing that we're starting to break down. Everybody see that? So we didn't go this direction, so this trade's off the table for now. But could this be a trade later on? And the answer is yes. This could even be a trade later on. See this is lightning 3 right here that's showing. If this was to break down and then start stair-stepping up, could this be an area that we could actually look, very possibly be going long to like Phantom or something? Absolutely. But keep in mind, if you want to make the most on your trades, go with the overall trend. Okay. And if you look at your chart, let's go ahead and look at the chart. This is your overall trend right now. This is the exact same chart we were just looking at. Okay. Let me draw it again for you and you'll see it. See that lightning right there? Your high, your low. You didn't take out the high. We drew a line there, remember? They didn't take it out, so they're not really heading up. They are heading down somewhat right now, right? Okay, so a question for you would be, could you box this in right here even as we speak? Now, keep in mind that you weren't up here to get this little, maybe like a Phantom. That was the night before. But let's just say that you decided you wanted to go ahead and take this trade. Okay, now I see support right down here at 1555.10, and looking to the left to trade the right, I see it at 1553.80. See the swing? I see it at about the same area right there, a little lower, 1553.40, and then as low as down here at 1547.70. Okay, so let's go ahead and draw a line there too. Okay, now that's what you want to do on your charts, is you want to get them ready to trade. Okay, now the only way that I'm going to take a long trade is if it breaks this 57.80 or even this 58.50. Okay, and keep in mind that you don't want to take trades against a background like this when you're clearly stepping down to begin with. But there is going to be a time where they're going to trend change, and they will give you a mid-band type trade and they'll take it up, or a break of lightning 3. Okay, so let's just give it a shot and see if our analysis actually worked out. We're in replay mode. Okay, now I talk to quite a few people all the time, and I know in Charles's webinar he likes to draw boxes on his charts. For instance, like right here, let's say that you happen to be, we don't care about this time, let's just pretend that you box this in and you're in a trade. Okay, but that is not Object Trader. Okay, you can't turn this on and fire that trade. You can't even do it here and fire that trade. You have to use the region feature, which is insert. insert key is the green box. Okay. Now that is ready to fire a trade right there. Now we've already diagnosed it, so are we going to turn on longs? No. We're going to turn on short. And usually I like to do like a touch plus 1 or 2. Okay. And you probably want to do, you know, maybe a couple of contracts. You can always go for like 10 ticks on your first part of your trade, and you can do a runner on the rest if you want to, you know, and then you're ready to go on your trade. Okay, let's see. Am I right? George is saying the lines you draw are through the closest, looking to the left, yellow, green dots. Yes, if you're looking at lightning 3, let's go back to that chart. Lightning 3 is going to be the green and the yellow numbers. And those are the ones that I concentrate on. Now, your other number, when it does double like this, is your lightning 4. That would be, for instance, if I was to draw lightning 4 on this chart, let's see, we don't have lightning 4 there. We'll get it right down here. If you drew lightning 4 like backspace, this is going to be a pretty good size lightning here. Let's see. See, that's lightning 4 right there. Okay. Now notice that lightning 4, you had a high, you had a low, you had a higher high, but then they started breaking this low right here. See, and they started heading down, didn't they? And then they kissed it, see there? And then they rolled over. So this is still a short chart. I don't really use lightning 4 as much simply because these are about 60, 70, 80 tick runs. You know, you don't want to base your trades on lightning 4. You want to use it more for what's the real trend if they happen to break medium, you know, like lightning 3s and things, okay? Because they will finally go back to the trend. All right, so let's get rid of lightning 4. Like I say, I don't really use that much. We put it on there because, you know, people had asked for it. All right. All right, does everybody see what we're talking about here? You know, you just look at your regular chart and you can see, for instance, you know, if this was to break here, would we go ahead and take a chance on a short trade? Let's see if it actually works. We've diagnosed it. We're not going to go long yet, are we? No. No, we're not looking for longs yet. Okay, you're in a trade. All right, now real quick, where would your stop be? Anybody? You don't put your stop all the way at 15 ticks. I only do that whenever I start out the trade. Okay, now there's times you may even go, you know, 10 or so. See, here's a little lightning thrust, retrace, thrust, retrace. So you can put your stop just above that lightning right there. You know, that's still pretty close to 15 right now. Now, usually if I get in a trade like this and it's already actually fired way up in here, but I just wasn't up for the morning, I would probably put my stop just above that swing and put it on exit on close. Okay, now that would still cost me 160 bucks, plus some slippage possibly. Okay, now if we get our 10 ticks, which is what we're trying to do for a scalp, okay, then we'll ride a runner. Okay. Now, in this case, with these nice tight consolidations, I like the boxes quite well. Okay. Because the boxes seem to work extremely well. I don't like a box if, you know, you got to do a box like something like this, you know. That to me would never be a trade. You know, because you know what'll happen, don't you? They'll break them and then they'll pull back into them. Okay, so I don't use big old boxes like that. All right. Now, if I can get, for instance, like right here, when it kissed predictor, could you have boxed this in over here? And the answer is yes. See? And predictor even gave you that it was going to break down there to begin with because the background changed red, the predictor was white, it rolled into a predictor and rolled over. Well, Craig, on your question, yes, that's what I'm getting at. If you go short at a low like that, then you want to put a pretty tight stop on it. Okay, but keep in mind what I'm talking about too is that it's easy to look at a chart and say, wow, I'd like to have gotten in here. Or maybe I would have liked to have gotten in here. You see what I mean? But let's say that we started trading at midnight and this is what we got. I wouldn't be afraid to take this particular trade I might even take it with one instead of two, possibly, and see if it would break down and come back and kiss, and that would even be better. Okay. So, if you want to do something like that, then simply, go with one contract instead. Okay. And this nice tight stop. And then if they come back and kiss, then add one. Do you ever use OT alerts? Yes. But keep in mind that, I basically designed those, so I don't technically need to use them on the chart. I can see them to begin with, but they're nice to use. Okay. I even like personally the little, we haven't shown these in quite a while, but I like these little alerts that are short trade, minor short trade, to give an example, that turns these bars black. See where the black bars are right there? That's actually telling you that's like a one range swing is what it's doing right now. Okay. Now, what if you decided, you know what? If this goes ahead and breaks and then comes back and kisses, let's say, for instance, that it hadn't really tagged here too much yet, but let's say that we want to add one. All right, we could simply do this. If it comes back up here and kisses this area right here, we could add one. Or if you want to, we could actually wait for it to break and come back and kiss before we add. Okay. Now, what I like personally to do the best is for a trade to actually break and then come back and kiss. Okay, see, that's breaking a little bit, not much yet, but it's breaking a little bit. Okay, see there, it kissed 1555. Okay, and you're up a little bit. Okay, now that's your thrust, that's your original thrust right there. So what do you think is going to happen when they get that thrust? They're going to come back and they're going to kiss an area. See how that's trying to come back right now? Now, if you're only in one contract, you're kind of basically having to wait for these little thrusts and pullbacks, or you just take some coin either way. If you were up $100, now we're not though, see? That's why I personally like two contracts on a trade at the minimum as far as that goes. Okay, see how that kissed that resistance right there, even at the bottom of our box? Could it come a little bit higher? It could. I'm expecting it to actually hit here. It hasn't really tested that after a thrust. And they do that quite often. They'll thrust, they'll come back and kiss. We'll draw our lines on our charts. And if we don't get it, it's no big deal, because what I'll do is I'll put my stop just a tad higher. And then if it rolls back down through this box, I'm going to go ahead and short one more contract. Okay, see, it's kissing, and it got us in our other contract. Okay? That's not a bad way to trade, by the way. You could tell when you look at a chart, where they're going to come back and kiss. For instance, this broke down. Let's go to lightning 1 on this just real quick instead of 2. I'm going to do lightning 1 on it. See, that's a little bit more of a, see how they came back and kissed that swing right there? And then let's see what they do after that. Yeah, see there, it broke down. But see how you can draw on your charts? If you use lines to get in a trade, or you use just like I did there with the box, you could be nicely green on this trade, by the way. And by the way, we'd probably go ahead and take some profit off of this. I don't like to normally ride two contracts with pullbacks. And it looks like it might pull back. It might not. We'll see. But see these little black bars too that I like? Notice how they're stair-stepping down, 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 down. Okay? You can put your stop just above the swing. See it right there? If you don't see it, I'll draw it for you. It's right there at 1554.20. Okay? Now, if they were to kiss like 1555.10 area, or even this, they shouldn't go any higher than this if they're going to hold what we call micro. Okay? Now, they could kiss like right here. See that little swing? Thrust, retrace, thrust. They could kiss right there and still continue to roll over. Okay? Now, who was saying that about, aren't you going short at a low? And one thing I want to mention on that is, again, just like I was saying, it's great to look at a chart and say where you could have gotten in, but see, this was midnight right here, just like so. And that's all you've had to look at since then. So to me, this may be, selling somewhat at a low, but you put a tight stop on it, okay? Because you don't want to wait literally for the trade to be this much money and you missed it either. Because what if you said, you know what, I'll just chase this right down here, I'll go ahead and short it. Well, what if they retraced all the way to mid-band and then rolled over? You could give up, $200, $300 pretty easily. So that is a good, what I consider to be a tight box. It did break support. We were looking at in real time. So you had a high, you had a low, you had a lower high. And when it broke this, they were breaking down. Okay. Now, remember, this was the left of the chart before. Okay. Now, where's the left of the chart now? Anybody? Well, you have a high, you have a low, you have a lower high, you have a lower low. So that's our left, right? Left, correct? And this is our right side of the chart. We have a low, a high, a higher low, but we don't have a higher high yet, okay? So if you were to put your stop here or even right here, then you'd more than likely be safe on this trade because that is where resistance is, okay? Let's see if that worked, by the way. I'd probably normally get out of all but one, but let's just leave the two on for the fun of it. Just coming right up to where resistance is. And see it rolled. Okay, now I would definitely put my stop just above that right now, exit on close. And then you've got totally an absolute winning chart. Okay? Now, let me ask you a quick question. If you were in this trade, and let me fast forward this just a little bit, and let's see if we can tell. Let's look at our other chart. Let's go back to this chart right here, and let's get rid of Lightning 3. And we'll get rid of Lightning 1. And let's diagnose this chart like we were starting to trade right now. Okay, let's look at our chart. So we have a Lightning 3 right here. Let's draw Lightning 2. All right, Lightning 2 is coming up a little bit. You have resistance right there at 1556 and 1555.10. See it right there? And you have resistance right across there. Okay, so this is actually a little sweet spot if they were to come back and kiss this area for a rollover. Everybody see that? Okay, let's see what it did just for the fun of it. Didn't quite come to it, did it? Came close. Probably a predictor in there, I'll bet you. And you're still heading down, look at that. Let's keep watching this chart. Look at that thing drop. Let it just keep going. Now, whoa, we're going to stop it for just a second. Does anybody see where if they broke to the upside that you could probably more than likely take a shot at a long if they do it? Now let's look both ways. Let's just pretend you got up at 3:26 in the morning. All right, and let's kill our other trade. We don't really care about it. All right. Well, it's already closed. It's flat. It hit targets and everything. Okay, so let's go back to our other chart. And what do you see that I just taught just a little while ago? All right, you have a Lightning 3, 1, higher low. What if they take this out right across here and decided to actually break up? We'll draw a box here. And we'll draw a box under here. Let's just pretend you just got up and you're saying, you know what? I'm going to take this either way it does. Matter of fact, you could even take it if it just breaks down through this little swing right across there. Okay, see your high, your low, your higher high, higher low. Not a higher high, not identified swing is identified. So let's draw a line. We'll say if it breaks that, we'll go short, and if it breaks that, we'll go long. Okay, now keep in mind though that the only reason we would be trying a long is if they break this Lightning 3. Okay, and let's pretend that you weren't up in the middle of the night, so you're saying, okay, What are they doing? Well, you got a low, you got a high, you got a higher low, you got a little higher high. It's like they're trying very possibly to change trends. Okay. Anytime they start getting a stair step, 1, 2, 3 type look, you're looking at it. Okay. So let's look at the actual chart. All right. Let's see what we got here. Let me get rid of the predictors just for a minute. All right. So you have a low, high, higher, low. Well, could you actually box it something like this right here and this right here? Can we see that? Okay. And the reason for that is because what if it broke here and it decided to check all the way up to here at a lightning 3? In other words, it would be stair stepping up again, right? Now, this is some of those trades that we try to get into as early as we can if they go this way and if they go this way. So you're up at 3:30 in the morning. Let's see which way it does. We'll go 2 again. Let's see which way it decides to go. Now remember, we box in like this in that room in reality. You know, for instance, if oil starts doing this where you're stair stepping up with your swing, see how you're starting to get stair stepping? Could this be a trend change? Well, you won't know until it takes out 49 right across there, which it seems to be doing. Not yet. See, it just tested it. That's a low, high, higher low again. So you're getting higher lows again. Now, our scripts will not change this background for a while. This does not mean that we cannot take a trade if this does what I'm wanting it to do right here. Okay? So you're still getting higher lows. You got to swing it now at 49.70. So could you, just in case, you could put your trade just above there, 49.70, and there you're in the trade. And I would put a really, really tight stop on it. Let's see if we can go even tighter at all. We got 49.30. I'll even do that. That gives us 7 ticks. Okay? That's exactly like we diagnosed the chart just a little while ago. Okay, by looking to the left to trade the right. Now, keep in mind that this is still a downtrend as of we speak on this side of the chart, but not on this side of the chart. The left side is short, the right side is long. Everybody see that? And you can clearly see it's stair stepping. You got a low, you got a high, higher low, higher low again, and higher high again. Okay? And if you don't see that, draw it with lightning 2 even. Okay? Let me draw it for you. There's your lightning 2 right there. So you have a low, have a high, you have a higher low, you have a higher high. So that is your established swing right now. Okay? Could you actually put your stop just underneath that? Yes. Okay, because you do have an actual identified swing. Everybody see that? And then look what this thing did. So could you do this the opposite way? You know, if this doesn't go ahead and take out the swing to the left, could it possibly roll over even again? Let's fast forward and see if anybody can catch the trade. You want to? Now this is a good trade, by the way, and you notice that we did this just like we do oil in the morning. There's another little area that it should bounce. See it come right down to stealth, trying to bounce. By the way, you can even rebox if you see that you like a trade like this and you want to add one. You can always turn that on like that. See there, now you're in, oh, I added 2, so we're in 3. We better tighten this stop big time then. Okay? Now, let's look at, I'm going to fast forward this chart, and I want to see if y'all can pick out the same type of trade if this decides to go the other direction. And we don't care about the P&L. This is replay. So I'm going to pause the screen for just a minute. I'm going to fast forward this until I see something that I'm might be looking for to trade. Okay, you're still heading up, still heading up. I'll just show it. Still heading up. You got a swing right under here that's not identified. Not yet, anyway. Now it's identified. Everybody see that? Okay. Now let me ask you a quick question. If this was to decide to go the other way, now you can obviously see we're heading up, right? Okay. But can you also see that if you look at this chart, let's see if we can get a little lightning 3 going on this thing, because I like lightning 3 real well. Okay, let's just watch the chart and see if we can get something. All right, what is this right here? That's going to more than likely be lightning 3, I'll bet you. Let's see. All right, now you got a double top up here. Everybody see that? Okay, so now you have a high, you have a low, you have a lower high. If you get a lower low than here, would this be applicable like we just did a few minutes ago if it breaks to take a short? But when I look to the left to trade the right, I look and say, okay, that swing, and then you got this swing right here. All right, so I'm going to draw both of them. All right. Now, if they come down here and bounce, they could easily head up. So I'm not sure if I would short this just yet. But I can tell you, you can take to the bank the fact that if it breaks this right here, they're going to head down, because that's lightning 3. Okay. So if you learn to really see this on your charts, you're going to be able to trade quite well. As a matter of fact, this little trade was called in the room this morning on gold. Does anybody remember it? I'm pretty sure that's it. Let's just see. You're getting lower highs. You broke. Now, does anybody remember this little trade in the room this morning? Right below support. Now, if you had missed this trade, where's the trade setting up right now? Anybody? Well, if you draw your lines on your charts, and you're going to see, by the way, that this was actually drawn in real time in our room, and you can see where it's at. Draw this line right here. That's on the left, and then look to the left again and draw another line. Lightning 3s are really, really good. Okay. Now, if they get up anywhere near this line and roll over, we're going to be looking for a short. Okay. Now, you could get your box ready right now. You could just simply hit your box region. You set it up here like this. If it goes on the inside of that with like a touch, you could fire it. Okay. And we called this trade in the room this morning. Now, what if you had just taken one instead? Let's just buy one of them back just for the fun of it. Let's say that now you want to take it only if it breaks down below the box. Okay, that's like boxing it in. Now, that was buying a line trade, pardon me, shorting a line trade. Okay, and this would be adding to it by taking out the box itself. Okay, now to box in this trade, by the way, I would not leave my stop way up there at 15. I'm looking to the left and I see, okay, I see resistance right here, so I'm going to at least bring it down to here, because I don't expect them to do any more than kiss that and roll, but they're rolling right now. Okay, see that? Now, this particular trade, by the way, was called exactly like this in the room this morning. And the reason it was just simply by looking at the chart to see where it was kissing. Okay, if you look at this right here, what'd they do? They kissed it, didn't they? And then let's draw lightning 1 and see it rolled over. Now, isn't that a beautiful way to trade? But you got to be patient, because the whole thing is that when this trade set up, it definitely set up for a good long, right? So if you were up and you were trading, you said, okay, Gary taught that you're looking for a break of lightning 3 at least. You're going to box it in. Did that trade work? It certainly did, didn't it? Did this trade work, though, when it broke and kissed to the short side? And the answer is yes. Now, the trade actually started breaking down right across here. You had a high, low, lower high, lower low. But when you've got a swing like right over here, this is the left side of the chart. See it? High, low, higher high. I don't personally like to short it until it breaks that. Neither does Charles, by the way, because this trade was called this morning when it broke this, not when it was just breaking these little lightning swings here. Because when you look to the left to trade the right, you've got to look at support and resistance. You know, for instance, if this didn't break down, what would it take to actually take this trade back to the upside? Anybody? Wouldn't it be something like that? Let's see what it actually did just for the fun of it. I'm going 500 times. Look, it kissed those lines exactly. Kissed resistance. Rolled over at resistance. Could you short that? Yep. See, it kissed right where we had our lines on our chart and everything. Now keep in mind, this is even after we closed the room and everything. Okay, so if you shorted this and it came down and gave you your 10 ticks, or you shorted this even, and let's see if it even gives, you got your lines drawn on your chart, and that's actually even heading down right there. Support. Now, is this a beautiful way to trade, or what do y'all think? Can you trade like this every day of your lives and do quite well on your trading? And the answer is yes. Okay, see how it just kissed resistance? Okay, so you draw your lines on your chart, you're looking to the left to trade the right, you see resistance right there, you shorted it. Actually, you box it. You know, you're not just taking the line only all the time. You could actually box it, you know, little old box. And then this one here, you'd box it, little old box, same box as a matter of fact. And then over here, you'd box it the same way. Now, could you have actually taken a long trade when you had low, high, higher low, and higher high above here? Yes, because we did that earlier. See your low, your high, your higher low, they took out lightning 3, and you got a nice little pop long. Now, we'd have to look at the chart to see it, but would you have rolled over also at resistance? Yes. Okay, let's see what gold actually did. Like I say, I didn't trade it in the afternoon, just in the room this morning. Let's see what it actually did. There's your identified swing. Lower high. Identified swing again. Now let's look at the chart. Let's say that you were getting ready to trade, okay? Let's see, 1029 it kissed resistance, 1553.60 it retraced and punched through it. It would have been easy to get caught in a long too, or do I see that incorrectly? No, you could actually trade that, as a matter of fact, to the long side. Let me show you on the chart. Let's go back here and look at it. Let me get rid of lightning, because that's, you know, I only draw lightning in the area that I'm trading, not so much way back here. Okay, let's look at this. So when this actually did this, you had a low, you had a high, you had a higher low. Could you have actually bought this as it crossed across there? And if you did, put your stop nice and tight at first. If it goes up a little bit, keep it still in, and then you protect coin because you're right at resistance. And then you draw on your chart and you say, okay, you also got resistance right up here. See where they broke down big time? So they may check it too. Always look to the left to trade the right. And they did check it. See there? And then they rolled over again. So could you actually take this long like I just taught when we got in this trade here? Yes. Low, high, higher low. They start breaking this. You can definitely box this in. We trade these trades all the time. Okay? Where you can get that trade. Even before this all turns and everything. All right? This trade here, could you have taken this when it broke this and it came back and kissed mid-band? We teach this trade. That's a 20-tick trade. Now, if it didn't make a higher, you know, could you have boxed it in again? Yes, and it got another 10 ticks or so. Okay, and let's see what it did the rest of the afternoon. There's a trade right there at mid-band. Okay, so let me ask you a quick question. If you were trading gold and you said, okay, by just what Gary taught just now, you have a low, a high, a lower low, so you're definitely heading down on this side, right? Let's keep fast forwarding this and see if we can figure if this does any kind of retrace at all for a long. It's already out of date. It's 5 o'clock. Okay, so here's what I would look at on this chart right now. All right, let's just say that you didn't get this trade here. Now I'm looking at this chart and I'm saying, okay, if you get a low, a high, and a higher low, but you didn't, so that negates this one, you're more than likely going to get something like a thrust, retrace, rollover, and get a higher low, or pardon me, yeah, like a higher low, and then more than likely, right this very second, if they break this, they're heading up, but they may even make that an identified swing on Lightning 3, very possibly later on. Okay, so by that same analogy of what we did over here, could you take the trade long, and could you take the trade long? Let's see, to practice seeing the swings, how do you remove the candles, Lisa? Well, you don't have to remove the candles. What you do is you use the template that we've got called Webinar. And you should have this little template right here. And it's called Webinar. Okay? I've got some other templates that I've messed around with, like dark backgrounds and things like that. But this is your Webinar template right there. And you just simply load it on your chart. Now that should be in your document folder and everything, and if it's not, let me know and I'll get it for you. Anybody else that doesn't have it. I personally like this little chart like this because I've trained my eye to see them on the charts that have the 4 range bars, but it's a little harder to see. You know, so if you can train your eyes to see it, then yes, you can get some good trades like that, but you want to really, get in the habit of seeing, for instance, like on this chart, where would this change trends as we speak right now? Well, if you had a low here, high here, and get some higher lows and head up, this would be your long area. Now, we know that it's already gone below this, so we'll draw our Lightning 2 or 1 and see it's already gone below that. So what I see even right this second is they're kind of testing this, seeing if they want to roll over, right? Okay. But to me, this would go long if they decided to break this as we speak right now. Now, this could continue rolling over, and that's fine. But I always look at a chart to see where it could change trends too. Okay. And if you do that, you're going to get into some good 10, 15 tick trades. And usually not feel a lot of heat on them either. But you got to be, conscious of the fact that you got to be breaking these Lightning 3 swings. And our little scripts will even show that. Let me back this up here real quick to where that big breakout was. Right in this area right here. See if you don't get, let me add an indicator to this. I'll add alerts. And we'll do it on, say, a bunch of minutes. And I got to change something because when it's not in the template, these are automatically at minutes instead. So I'm going to change that to 4 range. I'm going to change this to range. And this would be a 4 range. And this one would be bar type as far as range bars. And this one, I think, let me think, stealth control would be 4 range. And this would be 415. Bear with me a second. I'll change that. Okay, so that'd be 415. And keep in mind, we can do a template for this too. And this would be Lightning 1 and 1. So this would be 1 range. Like that. All right, I'm going to set that as my default. All right, so let's see if this actually gave us a heads up of where this was changing trends. And we'll get rid of the predictors. And let's see here. Of course, keep in mind that this is now going to show bar colors and everything. But let's see if this showed a potential long trend change. See it? Now, you don't want to do them way up here when this is already thrust a bunch. This is when you start breaking lightning 1, 2, 3, and then it starts breaking this thing. See how this was doing it right here? This was your first heads up that they were trying to take it up when they broke lightning 3. Now, you don't want to just take it as a breakout unless it's retraced. Okay? Now, you could, as far as that goes, if they happen to retrace and you get another lightning, yes, you could take the breakout. Okay, but always keep in mind, even let's say that you took this breakout even here and you got faked. Let's just pretend that you got in right there on that bar. Okay, you'd have to put your stop underneath the swing and see it never got it. Okay, that's if you got faked. Now keep in mind that's a good 10 ticks back, or yeah, about 10, 12 maybe to that swing. Okay. When did this start breaking down here? So you have a high, low, higher high. So when they broke this, weren't they pretty much heading down? See it? And then they kissed it and rolled. See there? This way of trading, it just absolutely works. Okay? Could you, though, clearly see that you could definitely take like mid-band trades or something like this? I imagine that was around mid-band. That was a good little trade long. This was a good little trade long. But your overall trend on this side of the chart was still pretty much down because all you were doing was kissing resistance, and it made them roll. What makes the very small yellow dots lightning 3? That's lightning 3, George. Lightning 3, to me, is the most important indicator on my chart. I love lightning 3 because it really tells me when these things are changing directions. And it tells me, for instance, if I'm, let's say that this would have headed up instead of down, and you had a high here, low here, and a higher high up here, and you got a retrace, you get another lightning 3, and then it would head up, down, another lightning 3, head up, and you can tell when they break that they're really changing, directions. We actually called this trade in the room this morning because of this exactly right here. It broke lightning 3. Now the better trade was here, and then this one was the retrace. And this was called in the room too. If you remember in the room, this is not after the fact. This was actually drawn like that in the room this morning. The larger dots are lightning 4, and lightning 4 will only print when you have double numbers. Anytime you get this double number like this right here, that will print a lightning 4. Let me go ahead and change that. That will print a lightning 4 right there. This will print a lightning 3. Okay, so when you draw lightning 3 with your control key, you just hold your control key down, left click your mouse, and usually if it won't draw from the bottom, draw it from the top one instead, and you'll see it. That one doesn't want to draw at all. Let's see, there we go. All right, so when did this start changing trends? Look to the left to trade the right. You could clearly see that probably head into this area right here at least, right? And so what they do, they did, and they went through it and everything. So this is definitely a good way to get those trend changes good and early. But you don't want to just take them if they happen to, go to here, for instance, mid-band and roll over and take out this low. Because then you're not changing trends. You're only changing trends when you start stair-stepping back up. Okay? And you're changing trends to the downside when you start breaking these lightning 3s. See, you broke lightning 3 here to give an example. Box it and rolls over. I'll bet that's a mid-band trade, truthfully. This one right here, I'll bet it is. Everybody see that? This is definitely a very, very good way to trade, because if you were in the room this morning, we didn't get this trade. That was 4 o'clock in the morning. But did we get this trade at 8 o'clock-ish? And did we get this trade right here? If you got this trade only and it was called out live in the room, and let's say you did 2 contracts and that went all the way down below support and you grabbed some coin and then it kept going down, and when did it start stair-stepping back up so that you could get out of the trade? Because you don't have to hold these things all the way to mid-band. See how this did a thrust, retrace, thrust, retrace, thrust? This is your swing right here on the left, and this is your swing on the right. Everybody see that? Low, high, higher low. If it gets a higher high, it's no longer heading down on the right. If it breaks this one, it's no longer heading down on the left. Okay, so that would be a loose stop, that would be a tight stop. Let's see, does anybody have any questions on any of this so far? Every single chart that you have with your oil, your gold, your ES, anything like that, they're virtually the same thing. Now let me show you something. I said I was going to show an ES chart. I want to show you something on an ES chart real quick. And I'm going to change this one to an ES. And I'm going to ask you if this had changed trends this morning when this was being shorted below mid-band. Okay, I'm going to change the template real quick too. Bear with me a second. And I'm going to back it up so you can't see where we were, but I want you to see the exact same thing I just taught. Bear with it a second. There we go. All right. Wow, my predictors changed. Oh, I know why. I changed the size of them. I'll set it as default and then reload my chart. Bear with it just a second. And I'm going to show you the webinar chart of it first. And I want you to tell me if you would have taken this little trade short or not. And I'm going to get a webinar chart up real quick. Because remember, these trades right here were called in real time. Okay? But I want you to see on the webinar type chart if you can tell what this chart was actually doing at the time. All right, let's go ahead and go with all right. All right, let's say that at 8:40 you decided, you know what, I'm going to trade. All right, so I'm going to draw some lines real quick, and you tell me if you should have been looking for shorts or longs. That's virtually the same top, isn't it? Very, very close. Now, looking on the left side of the chart, let's go ahead and draw it from here too. We're going to thrust, retrace, thrust, retrace. So let's draw it. I draw lightning 3, but I want you to see this. The way we designed lightning 3 was just simply like this, that it just draws it automatically. All right, now, what's the trend on the left? Low, high, higher, low, higher, high, higher, low, higher, high. Okay, so where is your identified support on lightning 3? Correct? You had a high, low, lower high. Now, if this took this out, could you short this? The answer is yes, okay? But keep in mind that more than likely that chart didn't change any colors or anything. That was the little trade that was called this morning in the room that we actually boxed that little puppy in and we took that trade short. But do you remember what I said when it bounced off a phantom? We had a phantom trade, right? So on the left side of the chart, high, low, higher, high. Is this a short trade? It only is because it broke this side of the chart, the right side, high, low, lower, high, broke. Okay? But on this side of the chart, could you have boxed this little area in, like right here to give an example, and taken that trade to the upside? We'll leave that box there and you tell me. Let it go ahead and fill in. We'll get rid of the predictors for a minute anyway. All right, hide predictors. There's your box. Is this actually a long trade? Now, could you short this where we boxed it this morning? Absolutely. We got 10 ticks on it. Remember? But when it didn't take out that low right here, now to me, this was actually what I consider a right at the market open trade, that this could have gone either way. But until it broke this right here with a vengeance, this was not actually heading down. Everybody see that? Just like I showed on the rest of those charts. This was not a short trade except for the fact that it just simply boxed in at mid-band. And we were expecting it to come down to here or even here. See where your lightning 3 is? But it bounced off of Phantom. And I actually called that trade in the room this morning at Phantom, said, we're getting a Phantom trade. Be careful with your short. Okay? Now, if you don't take that particular trade, you got to be careful getting in some trades, because what if you said, you know what, if it breaks this area right here, let's just pretend you were looking right here. You said, if it breaks this, I'm going to go long. Well, unfortunately, if you did, you'd have to put your stop under here. So see, that did actually go up through, and then it pinged around, didn't take out the swing, pinged around. And remember, we even said, if it broke 71.25 area, you could be long. Remember that little resistance area right there? But ES was in a mood this morning to just, if you got in it and right back out, you didn't make any money. Now, if you waited for the trade to get out of this melange right here and at least come to mid-band or something, I'm sure Charles, what he was actually doing was probably just getting some scalps in here. But wasn't that a better entry right there? You never felt any heat. With these trades here, you felt heat because it pulled back. You felt heat because it pulled back. You felt heat because it pulled back. Every single breakout was a pullback. But then look what it did the rest of the day. Okay, so what will it take to change the trend on ES? Anybody? You can already see it. Right this very moment anyway, if it takes this out right here, they're no longer heading up. Now, to do that, they would have to do something like this. They would come down. They would then give a lower high, and then they would roll over. And more than likely, you'd see that happening in real time. And, you can even get some of these areas of consolidation before they change backgrounds and everything. But the safest trade on here to me would be if they broke this, and then they came back and kissed it, and then rolled over. But I would take a breakout of it, because a lot of times they'll break just like our gold did and just head straight up. But if they do break, then don't let them take you back out. In other words, if you shorted this, if it happens to get this, and you get a nice 10 or 12 tick trade and you let your runner run, don't let them close back above that swing. If this happens, now it's not happening, obviously ES is still heading up, but that's what you'd be looking for a short. You've always got to be looking at your charts and saying, you know what, if they break here, I'm not looking for long anymore. Okay? But always look to the left to trade the right, and you'll see it. Right now, you can clearly see. I'll just draw it from down here. High, low, higher high, higher low, higher high. This one hasn't done a pivot point yet for Lightning 3, but in your mind, you can still draw it. Isn't that support right there? And wouldn't you be looking more than likely, if it does break that probably you'll get a nice little short. Now, it may not do it. This may keep heading up. There's all kinds of good economic news and everything. And see, they took out the high from last night. Okay. Anybody have any questions on this so far? This is exactly the way we teach and trade all the time. When I called this phantom to give an example this morning in the room, this is exactly what I was looking at. I said, okay, I had a high, I had a low, and I had a stair stepping up. This is my lightning 3. This was a good entry on ES to the upside. These other entries would have chopped you fairly sideways, and you would have to use the swings if you get into them. If you got in this trade breaking above this swing, you got to use this swing to the left, or even this one here, and that's a lot of pullback. Okay, when it's in this background like this right here, that's my go-to trade. I do not like getting mid-band trades in this stuff, because if you do take them, you got to put your stop underneath swings, and you can clearly see your swings if you draw them. See, that's lightning 2 right there. So let's say that if you had gotten in there, and let's say that you said, you know what, I didn't get Gary's trade, but it's breaking this swing here, and let's say that you got long there. Well, you got to get a higher low or they're not going to be heading up. And as soon as they start heading up, you could clearly keep raising your stop. Just underneath the swings, I'd keep my stop here for a bit, see if they'd break up. Once they break up, you go to another swing. Break up some more, you go to another swing, and so on. Okay, and that's the way you could stay with this trade. Matter of fact, this trade literally, for people that use mid-band, never took you out all day. Okay, in a nutshell, that's lines and boxes. I mean, that's literally how I look at every single chart. Charles looks at these charts just like I do. And we see these trades in real time. And you can definitely take these trades by just simply drawing on your charts. What if you had missed this thrust up right here? Let's say that you weren't up at midnight and you said, you know what, this is thrusting. I'm not a thrust trader. Well, what about a retrace trader? Right down to support, bounces at mid-band and takes off. And you got up here before we opened the market. And we even had this little trade. This is our 8 o'clock trade. I believe this is 8 o'clock trade. That you could actually have shorted this just like Charles and I did if you wanted to. But remember, if they don't take out on the left, you got to look for a higher low. Because see, your overall look of this chart now was like this. Big old thrust. And I'll change the color of this so you'll see it. Let's do it in cyan. That'll be fine. All right, and a big old retrace. And if you look at this, this is not, even on your lightning 3, is still a higher low. See here? Higher low, like phantom type trade. Don't be afraid of those trades like that. If you want to do nothing more than try them in sim, just do it that way and see if they don't work for you. Because these trades are monster like this. Okay, I would venture to say that this will be a lightning 3 before it's over. See, this is your lightning 3 now, but I'll bet that becomes a lightning 3 right there. Because see, as this is heading up right here, this is calculating all this, and more than likely here in a little bit, you'll probably see a number appear right there, and that'll become lightning 3. Now, right now, lightning 3 is right here. Okay. All right. I hope this helped out because, you can clearly tell that this isn't bunk or anything like that. That trade was called. That trade was called, and you could still be in ES even as we speak. Gold was called. Oil was called. Oil we got in at 82. Does anybody remember how far that dropped down? Well, I called 33, so that was a 50-tick move. All right. And again, I hope this helped everybody, because this is what you're looking at on your charts all the time. I'm looking at every single chart and seeing where it might go short if I break. And I'll be ready for it if it does. But keep in mind that a lightning 3 changes, this at the time. Let's say you were looking at this and you said, okay, this went up, so that's my lightning 3, right? Well, it never broke it, so you never went short. It went up and it made another lightning 3, so now your lightning 3's here, and that's where it still is right now. And it more than likely is going to end up here before long, because it's looking for nice thrusts and pullbacks. Do you use bar colors at all? Seems like the mid-band long with blue bars what worked better than yellow bars at mid-band, George. Well, what you want to get in the habit of doing, and I'm going to wrap pretty quick, but if you want to really get a go-to trade, go from a trend change, you know, in other words, from a short to a long, and look for that first mid-band trade. That's your trade. If they don't take out the top, look for the phantom. That's the way that really works. Because if they don't take out the top, what are they going to really do? Anybody? They're going to do a high, a low, a lower high, and then they'll take this out. Then they'll try to check this one, and if they can get a higher low, they'll head up again. So if you get a mid-band trade and it doesn't just keep on trucking, okay, like take out this swing, then don't take another one. Because, for instance, you wouldn't want to box this in and try to take it again because it never took out the left. I don't like 2 mid-band trades in a row unless they ratchet. If they're stair-stepping, for instance, if this was a mid-band trade and this was a mid-band trade, I'd take them any day of the week as long as this mid-band was ratcheting up. And the swings, of course, would correspond with it. Okay? All right, we're going to do this in the morning. And keep in mind that with a monster day like ES had today, watch for some chop. You just don't know. But aren't we going to trade it the same way? We're going to look at swings. We're going to decide if we want to take breaks. You know, this hadn't done this yet, but if this was to do a high, low, lower high, and then break, could you actually short it? Yes. But keep in mind you're going against the trend. When it really breaks is when it breaks lightning 3. Okay? And our indicators will even let you know that. The potential longs and everything. See that long right there? See if we can find another one. It doesn't do it in this color background. We didn't design it that way. You can actually do it, though, to where it'll tell you if there's potential short, too. Let me show you that one. Should get it on that bar. I think maybe you won't because it went from day to day. Yeah, probably not because we went to 2 different days. And when I redid my template, I didn't save it. So my alert is still at 480. So that's back more than 8 hours ago. Okay? I hope this helped. We're going to do this again tomorrow. And let's see if we can all get nicely green again. All right. Thanks, everybody, for coming. Hope you enjoyed it. And this will be up on the website probably within the next 45 minutes. Okay? And I'll get it on the webinar link in the morning because we always put it on the member site first. Thanks again, everybody, for coming. All right. Good night.